You are in YouTube. There are millions of videos for you to watch in YouTube. Now, if you hate guns, you hate people who have guns, you think we need to outlaw guns, confiscate them, then you are in the wrong place. You're watching the wrong video. This video will be a very unpleasant place for you to be, to comment in. You will get owned. In great numbers. Whereas in your world, you comprise the majority. In this world, the Nutnfancy Project, you are the minority. It will be unpleasant for you. So if you're going to issue threats, harassment, death, or otherwise, like I have received over the last 5 days, it won't work. You won't intimidate me. You won't intimidate my audience, and you will be owned. You will be shredded in the comments section. Okay? We'll find you. We'll block you. You'll never come back to the Nutnfancy Project, and you will just retreat. All for naught. So, I'm just saying this as a warning. This ain't a good video for you. Go to the other millions of videos that you can watch. Go live in your fantasy world and be happy as long as you can. Because sooner or later, the events of this last 5 days will catch up to you, and you will be dealt a harsh blow of reality. It's going to happen. Now to you TMPers, welcome to my SIT rep, that is situational report, like we said in the military, dated 19 December 2012, on the events that have been occurring in the last 5 days. Alarming, isn't it? Welcome to this video. It's going to be called For the Greater Good. I have a lot to talk about. Might be a multi-parter, I don't know. I'm going to try to cram it in one part. I really love single-part videos, but sometimes it just does not happen. I'm filming this, by the way, from an alternate location here in Camp Nutnfancy. Who knows where I will be in the future? Or you, for that matter. Who knows? Maybe in other online locations. Maybe in other ways of communicating. We'll talk about that more in the future. I'm going to summarize what I think about the last 5 days and where I think we're going. If you are interested in that, you are a pro-freedom lover, you are a realist when it comes to the Constitution of the United States, you are in the right place. One of the very few voices talking about these things. I feel like I'm all alone, to be dead honest with you guys. Definitely within the last 5 days. Now, of course, I am making reference to the horrific and tragic shooting in Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. Do I spend airtime talking about that? No, because there are millions of voices doing that. Instead, I'm going to talk about the macro issue, the bigger freedom issues in play, which that event will be exploited for progressing, pushing forward. That's what this video is about. When I talk about for the greater good, who determines what the greater good is? You know? Are we really honest about that when we say for the greater good? Really? Are you talking about future generations? Are you talking about the preservation of constitutional liberty? To me, that's what the greater good means, because that's generational, generation after generation, that they're still free. They're free individuals. Hey, anti-gunner, anti-self-defense type, progressive, are you still with me? You're welcome to stay if you want, but dude, even what I'm going to say is just going to blast you. I'm going to talk about you. I want to talk about what you think, and it's truth. That's what I deal with here in the Nutnfancy Project. I don't deal with a bunch of crap. I deal with truth, and I hit it directly, straight on, unlike pretty much any other media source here in YouTube. At least with the issues we talk about here. Straight on, that's what you're going to get. Now, the last 5 days have proven several things. Unless you have not been paying attention at all, you should know that we are in the middle of a transformation into what I've called, and I did so in November 2012, the New America. You're seeing it. You are witnessing history right now for the worse. You're seeing the transformation of America right now. I heard today a quote. Dude was saying it is time to reinvent ourselves. He was talking about it's time to reinvent gun legislation. How we think about guns. It's some Hollywood idiot. That's what you see in play. And with that in mind, you cannot apply the old paradigm to what is happening now. Let's go back to my video on Friday. As soon as I heard about the shooting in Connecticut, I knew that the playbook was going to be opened. Out come the plays. Well, what are you talking about, Nutnfancy? I'm talking about what I talked about in my previous philosophy videos as I strived to prevent this from happening through the political process, and that is preventing the re-election of Barack Obama. That set all this in play, by the way. Don't try to convince me otherwise. I don't care who you are, where you fall on the political spectrum. Don't waste your breath. That set in motion what we see now. The playbook was opened on Friday. The playbook was already set in motion, or I should say set in stone of what they're going to do and what they want to do against what? The gun lobby. Obama said this week, we seek to break the back of the gun lobby in the United States. What does he mean by that? He means he wants to completely disarm you. Called it in that video series, New America. I told you guys that. There are a lot of people that, oh no, there's no way Obama would do that. You guys are so wrong. I feel sorry for you. So misled, I feel sorry for you. You were foolish. It is happening right now. And it's going to get a lot worse. This is round one. Okay, so Friday the event happens. My ears perked up as soon as I heard it. I was actually preparing for a review. I listened to the radio. I heard that it happened. I was like, there it is. That's what they've been waiting for. Turned on the radio, heard it. Immediately, I hear political exploitation of the event. So if someone's going to roll in to whatever video, this video, or to whatever talk show and say, hey, you need to mourn the event first, why don't you tell that to the progressives, the anti-self-defense types, the Democrats, and tell them that they should mourn the event first, because that's not what they did. Neither did Obama. Immediately politicizing the event. Why? Because they have a playbook. They want to run the plays. I said over a year ago, they're going to look for an event like this, springboard off of it, and jump into what I call mob legislation. And it's mob rules. That's my first thing I'm going to talk about. Mob rules, mob legislation. As we go down the road here, I'm going to talk about what I call the blame game, courage in short supply. I've seen that for the last 5 days. Freaking A, man. Musical chairs, constitutional downfall, and then the future is now. And then I'm going to end the video or video series with some questions you can ask your progressives, your anti-self-defense folks, friends, family, co-workers, whoever they are. Ask them these hard questions that I will provide to you, and then watch them squirm and see what their answers are. Put them on the defensive. You will love the questions I have at the end of this video. I'm going to touch on a lot of this concept as we move towards the questions, but just drop the question. Let them, roll around trying to answer it. Right now I'm talking about mob rules, mob legislation, the playbook that came out on Friday. It's being ran with great expertise. They know what they're doing. They know what their goals are. They are very unified, and actually, especially within the last 5 days, they are extremely well funded. I'm talking millions of dollars flowing into the coffers of anti-self-defense organizations. Not hundreds of thousands, not thousands, but millions of dollars coming from all types of people. Now, truth is truth. A lot of the people contributing to these organizations really don't know what they're doing. I would say the majority don't. They don't really realize the gravity of what they're doing. They don't realize that they are funding the downfall of the Constitution, which will have a ripple effect. Did you catch that? It will have a ripple effect. Whether they're stupid, they don't know. Whether they're ignorant, if they're educated, they would. Whether they're doing it purposely purposely, it doesn't matter. because they're doing it. So let's say someone saw the shooting in Connecticut. They send off a $1,000 check to this organization. What do you think that money's going to be used for? All kinds of bad things. Lawsuits, commercials, political action in Washington. Money's a hard thing to defend against. And they're extremely well funded now because of this. And by the way, the media is responsible for the mob mentality. It would not exist without the media, and they are in cahoots, in league with the playbook. They agree to the new America. They want it. And dudes, don't waste your breath if you say, oh, that's just some crazy, whatever conspiracy. It's reality. It's on your television right now. If you were to turn it on, it's right there in front of you. On December 19th, 2012, if you turned on your TV to whatever crazy network you want to go to, you would see exactly what I'm talking about. Not a balanced discussion, but a very unbalanced discussion where gun owners are being demonized, just like I said in the video. What was it, 14 December that I posted? Gun owners to be demonized. That's exactly what is happening. That you are to blame for that shooting in Connecticut. You are. And the media is fomenting that mob mentality. They are not entertaining alternative points of view. They don't want to hear it. You're crazy. And along with that come the death threats from these supposedly peace-loving people. Now, how does that rack and stack? Does that confuse you too? It does me. But here we see coming from the anti-self-defense types, death threats against NRA members, against me in comments, in messages, against Larry Pratt, Gun Owners of America, against the president of the NRA, death threats, harassment. I had some quotes here. What was it? Oh, here it is. I wish I will shoot you myself if I see you, is what one guy said in a Twitter. So he's angry about a gun issue, and then he's threatening to murder a person, another human being, which we never do as law-abiding gun owners. We're good people. We're family people. We obey the law. We're kind. We're considerate. We have a value system which we control our dangerous things with. All the stuff I talked about here in TMP. And here this guy is threatening to blow this guy away. Welcome to the mob mentality. The hypocrisy of the progressives. Here's another one. He goes, put the gun in your mouth and pull the trigger. I hope you put your own gun in your mouth and pull the trigger. Is what and I don't know where that one came out, what the source was. One guy suggested they decapitate the president of the NRA. What? Yeah, cut the guy's head off. So these are the peace-loving people funding these anti-constitutional forces. And then another one said, I wish your own children had died in Sandy Hook that day. Okay, so yeah, that's the people who hate the NRA. Full of hate, vitriol, personal attacks, all these pent-up feelings waiting for expulsion. They found it, and they are empowered because of the election of Barack Obama. He has a mandate to transform America. He has said as much, and he has millions and millions of people who want him to do just that. They are his minions, and they are attacking you. You ain't seen nothing yet. It's going to continue. Told you, it's truth in the video. They say, let's put everything on the table and revisit the gun issue. Really. Remember in my series, The New America, Preparing for the New America, I said, take exactly what they say and turn it into the opposite, and therein you will find the truth. So when they say, let's put everything on the table, they mean exactly the opposite, meaning let's put on the table only what we want on the table, and that is registration and confiscation and people control. There's the truth. Bam. That's what they want. Well, if they were really interested on putting everything on the table, shouldn't we have a discussion? If we are confining the discussion to schools, mass shootings just in schools, shouldn't we discuss an armed teacher program? Those planes during 9/11 were brought down by terrorists who attacked the pilots. The response to that was, I think, the Federal Flight Deck Officer Program. Armed pilots There's thousands and thousands of them right now. Did you know that? Flying armed in the cockpits in the United States of America. And unbeknownst to anyone, there's federal air marshals in the backs of the aircraft as well, doing their job, ready to kill anybody who tries to take that plane over. Did you know that? It's been that way ever since 9/11. How many planes have we had go down since 9/11 due to the same types of terrorist attacks? How about zero? So if we're interested about preventing more kids' deaths by a rampaging, mentally challenged shooter, whoever he is, should we consider armed teachers program? No, we should not. Everything is not on the table. The only thing on the table, once again, is registration, confiscation, people control. That's the honest truth. Assessment. There is a larger program in play. It's not about gun control. It's not about mass shootings. And I will tell you right here, right now, that a lot of the media sources really don't care about that. I wouldn't say all of them. I would say some of them. They don't care about that. They care about the larger issue at play, and that is establishing socialism, or whatever you want to call it, in the United States. More governmental control. Surely gun control is part of that. You cannot get away with doing what they plan to get away with doing with an armed populace. That's the bigger issue at play. In reality, the gun issue is kind of a sideshow. It's a means to an end. It's part of the agenda, but it's not the whole agenda of where Obama wants to go. This might be a good time to say, once again, and reiterate that a lot of people who are in that camp of completely stripping away gun rights, getting rid of guns, a lot of them are not bad people. A lot of them are not issuing death threats. They're not saying evil things against gun owners like you and me, against gun owner pro-freedom organizations. But they are being deceived. Maybe they're caught up in the emotions, the mob mentality of it all, and they're going along with it. And they think they're doing the right thing. When she writes a $1,000 check to, Brady campaign, she thinks she's doing the right thing to making America safe. Nothing could be further from the truth, but they think that. So what we're going to see is the mob mentality, or not what we're going to see. We're seeing it now. Is the mob mentality. Reason doesn't play. Facts don't play. They don't care about that. It's all emotional, and it's full of hate and vitriol. You cannot penetrate that. It's just like running into literally a mob, an angry mob, and trying to reason with a mob. You will get ran over. And that's happening. Doesn't mean you don't try. And I'm talking, of course, symbolically here when we talk about the political discussion. That's what we're doing. Doesn't mean you don't try politically, though. You get in there, you engage, and I want to really hit on that before this vid series is over. You have to hit on that. A lot aren't. Most aren't. They're terrified, they're scared, they're cowardly. But you can't be that way. But the reason I bring this up and use the word mob is don't expect to make rational progress with these people. Okay, it is not going to happen. What they're after, and the people who are pulling the strings to this whole event, is mob rules, mob legislation. Just like we saw that came out of 9/11, TSA. TSA was a result of that. And a lot of other legislation that came out, in effect, trampling the civil rights of Americans in the so-called name of preventing terrorism. We've talked about that on camera before. What you're seeing is mob legislation. I think Feinstein already has another version of the assault weapons ban, the AWB, proposed. Round one is probably going to be tightened, expanded, and that's round one. Expect more legislation to follow. Mob legislation. Quick, fast, dirty. Why? Because the mob is pissed. They're riled up. They can support your efforts. That's what's going on. CBS, NBC, CNN, whoever, they're all on board with this. Fomenting the mob legislation. They will succeed, by the way. Be aware of the discussion for needs as this progresses on. You're going to hear, well, do you need a weapon like that? Well, if we go down that road where we're talking about needs, look out. Because now they're talking about weapons. In the future, they're going to talk about how you live your life. Why? Because we're the government. We're in control of you now. Remember those guns you let us take away from you? Yeah, those. Yeah, we own you right now. We will tell you how to live your life. For instance, you went parachuting the other day. Well, since we have government health care, you can no longer parachute. Hey, by the way, that car you drive real fast, that's a danger to yourself, to others. We're going to take that away as well. You don't need that. You don't need a gun with more than 10 rounds capacity. Reject that in all its phases. When they hear that, that's doublespeak for, we don't want you to have that. It's not about what you need, what you want. You're a private individual. What you need and want is up to you, not the government. This will spread to all areas, like I said. The definition of need. Look out. It's going to get more egregious. Mob rules, mob legislation, that's what we're seeing, and that will lead us to the blame game. Someone has to be called out on the carpet for what happened Friday. Well, how about you call out the person that did it? Well, he was crazy. He had mental problems. Well, he still did it. It wasn't the target shooter or the tactical shooter in Florida that did it. It was that individual that did it. It wasn't his mom that did it. But that doesn't suffice for the agenda, the playbook that is being ran. That doesn't suffice because they're not interested in solving that problem specifically. In other words, if they were really concerned about preventing more school shootings, they would institute an armed teachers policy. That would work. I guarantee you that would work. Just like the FFDO program works, that would work. They won't do that. They're not about that. They're running the larger agenda, and that is complete disarmament, people control. That's where they're running with this. Gun owners are dangerous and they represent a threat to our society is one of their beliefs. They are getting much traction in throwing that out there. Most people are signing off on it. Reference my Dangerous Things video posted in 2009. We have all kinds of dangerous things in this society, and we have all kinds of good people with good value systems, common sense, and smarts running those dangerous things. We have 18-year-olds in the United States Army driving Bradley fighting vehicles at 60 miles an hour. That's a dangerous thing. They seem to be doing it fine. Military trains these young men and women to operate dangerous things all the time. No, it's not about that. It's about the larger agenda of about establishing people control. That's what it is. In the blame game, again, facts are disregarded. Go back to that first talking point I had, and that is the mob rule, mob legislation. That is a fact. You got to know your audience, guys, who you're talking with, whether it's your dad, your mom, your friend, your ex-friend, your coworker, someone online. You need to ascertain if they're part of the mob. If they're part of the mob, you cannot convince them. You're wasting your time. They are irrational, possessed with emotion, and frankly, rage against you, just like a mob. Will the smoke ever settle and they'll think clearly? I would say probably not. I think they will always be part of that mob, that individual, with some exceptions. However, if you're dealing with someone who has some logic and ration, you can put the facts out there, and perhaps maybe they can start to see the truth about the gun issue in the United States of America, how they make us safer. The guns every day save lives. Do you ever hear that? Line of thought put out in the media? No. Why? Because it doesn't go in the playbook. It's not part of the playbook. It actually flies in the face of that. Just like the shooter who intervened in the Oregon Mall. That was a civilian sheepdog. So this jackhole goes to do a mass shooting in the Oregon Mall. Out comes a civilian sheepdog. Armed illegally, pulls out his gun, aims it at him, decides whether he's going to take a shot. He figures the backdrop's not safe, exercising outstanding judgment. The mass murderer runs away. I guess he clears out the jam from his gun, shoots himself, kills himself. So instead of 35, 40 people killed, we had a couple people go down, and we had an armed civilian, not a law enforcement officer, an armed civilian, just like I've always said here in TNP, save the day. But we're talking about the blame game. So facts are disregarded. Encounters with guns that saved lives are disregarded and actually swept under the carpet and specifically not covered part of the playbook. If you're talking with someone reasonable, rational, maybe you can throw the facts out. There's so many. Concealed carry decreases crime. I just gave you a perfect example there. Legally carried handguns by civilians. You can't just say, well, just cops here. The whole thing about, oh, we're going to put cops in schools. Oh, really? You're going to put, one at each door? Who's going to pay for that? And that's just a school. What about shopping malls? What about theaters, Aurora, Colorado? What about this location? What about sporting events? You cannot be everywhere at once. It's a ridiculous protectionist approach to providing for public safety. It's a joke. Armed civilians are not a joke because they're unpredictable to the criminal. He doesn't know where they are. Walks to the theater door. If I owned a theater, my sign would say, armed civilians welcome. Please show your concealed carry permit and receive 10% off your ticket price. That's what I said. That's what I'd put on my door. Guess what? I bet you I would never have a shooting in my theater because the guy would go there and see that and goes, whoa, it's a good bet. There's a lot of guns in that audience and I'm going to die. We have learned that these mass shooters are cowards. Cowards. They're not going to go places where there's guns. Everything's on the table. Where's that? Where's the event in the Oregon shopping mall? The cowardly nature of mass shooters. When I posted my Evil Rises video on the Aurora, Colorado shooting, there were some idiots in there saying, well, there should no way be a guy that, shoots back at this guy to cause more problems. Oh, really? Oregon Mall. I said, hey, man, you put fire on the guy, his whole game plan has to change. He's taking rounds. He's no longer in charge of the situation. He is on the defense. And if he's getting shot by 2 sheepdogs, all the better. He dies, he gets injured. Nevertheless, they're saving lives. But facts are disregarded. Here's another fact. Criminals will always be armed. That's a fact. Gun laws don't work, just like drug laws don't work. If you don't believe me, go to the federal prison system, the state prison system. Man, can you get it any more controlled than that? Here these people are living 24/7 in these facilities. They have weapons. They have drugs. They have contraband, contrary to all the laws and regulations put forth in that prison system. Once again, it doesn't work. There's going to be a black market. There's going to be a way to steal it, to get it, or just to make it. Criminals will always be armed. That's not on the table. That's a fact. When you talk to people, if you see them reject that, you know you're dealing with mob mentality. You cannot break through to them. Gun-free zones are anything but. Gun-free zones are free fire zones. I'm talking about facts you can throw at these people. Really? Yeah. Virginia Tech, Connecticut, Fort Hood. And they don't mention Fort Hood very often. Why? Because 1, it was a Muslim who did the shooting, and 2, it was on a federal military installation. Another highly controlled area where guns are illegal. As a military member, you cannot illegally carry your gun there. And the soldiers that got killed that day in Fort Hood were abiding by the law, and they died because of it. If I was base commander on there, I'd say, hey, you know what? If you are a concealed carry permit holder, you can carry. In fact, I encourage you to carry on my base. Then see what happens to the shootings. There will be no more shootings. These guys are cowards. These are facts. Areas of complete federal control are rife with weapons, just like the prisons I talked about. By the way, these shooters have already ignored hundreds, if not thousands, but hundreds of laws to do what they did. Last time I checked, murdering someone is still against the law. Yeah, but we're going to pass more laws, and that will make us safer. But wait, you don't get it. Guys, these children died already, and the laws did not protect them. I don't care if you enact more, it will not prevent a similar occurrence to this. We don't care about facts. We care about you being armed and the threat you pose to us and what we plan on doing. That's what we care about. Want a truth? You're getting it here in this TMP video. Evil people will always find a way to hurt good people. Go ahead, pass your gun laws. Go ahead, pass your AWB. Fertilizer bombs, gas bombs, driving a semi-tractor trailer into people, a speeding car into people. Do we really need to go down the list again? They'll find a way. Well, guns make it easy, and it makes it so easy for them to do it. Well, there's a lot of easy ways for people to do evil and to hurt other good people. History is full of it. What was that school in 1927, the Bath School, where the guy blew up all those children with explosives? Back in 1927. He killed a lot more children than, I have my stats here somewhere, but he killed a lot more children than this guy did in Connecticut. Man, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. There will always be destructive devices out there for evil people, and they will seek them out. You can't control people. You cannot control people. I cannot say that enough. Whether you're talking about a deranged madman, you can't control him, or you're talking about the good citizen, and he decides to be a conscientious objector, you cannot control him. Go ahead and try. It won't work. It will not work. History proves that it doesn't work. There will always be a way. There will always be a loophole. All you've done is piss a lot of people off and make things worse in the U.S. Sorry, it's here. Here. Now, these progressives have been around a long time. Yeah, if you want to use that term, use it. If you don't, I don't care. And whatever you want to use. Protectionists. And they have a way of thinking that they can end violence. They can end war. They've done it before. Back in 1928, they passed the Kellogg-Briand Pact. Germany, U.S., France signed this, and I quote, renounced the use of war, promoted peaceful settlement of disputes, called for collective force to prevent aggression. Boy, that sounds good. Kellogg-Briand Pact, 1928. Did that work? Well, a few years later, if my history serves, there was another war, World War II, and the signatories of that pact were combatants. So no, it didn't work. It was just an exercise in foolishness. Of hopefulness, I guess, but foolishness. It just didn't work. And now we're seeing it with gun laws here in the United States, where we're going to pass this law, we're going to pass that law, and in the end, we'll all be a better country for it. No, you won't. You're going to be a worse country for it, weakened. The people will be weakened. And then I'll say power resides in the people, not the government. When you're talking about facts, throw that out to your friends. See what they say. And you'll see that arise again in my questions if I get to that part. Does power reside in the people or the government? Well, it resides in the government. Okay, discussion's over, because everything I want to say to you factually will not resonate with you. It won't. It'll resonate with a freedom lover, a self-sufficient individual, but not with someone like that. Immediate armed responses save lives, and they have saved lives. There's a fact you can throw out. There's all kinds of examples. Again, the Oregon one. Aurora, Colorado, a security guard intervened, saved lives. The active shooter at Fort Hood, another security personnel intervened, taking rounds herself. She intervened, saved lives. You want to end the shooting, get a gun, shoot the guy. Fairchild Air Force Base, 1994. Ended with good feelings? Negotiation? Diplomacy? No, with a round in the guy's head. Fired from an M9 pistol from a security police person. That's how that ended at Fairchild that day. The mass shooting at Fairchild Air Force Base. Google it. Facts are disregarded, though. Your factual quotations will go nowhere with a mob mentality individual, whether it's online or in person. Best thing you do is put him on defense. Throw some questions out to him. Her. Questions I have in the next part or whenever I get to them. See what they say. You know, more guns make society safer, not less safe. And if if they doubt that, say, well, what happened during the assault weapons ban from 1994 to 2004? Because Feinstein and company, Charles Schumer, were predicting that crime, violent crime specifically, were going to skyrocket as that sunset in 2004. Did it? No. No effect whatsoever. And conversely, did it lower the crime rates during its implementation during those 10 years? The answer again is no. The facts show that more guns make society safer. There's all kinds of evidence to prove it. Reference John Lott, his excellent writings. He has many books on it, facts, figures. NRA, ILA does as well. If they're open to facts, there's tons of them to be had. And like I said in the previous segment, some really sincerely want to prevent gun violence from happening, and they're not to be faulted for this. The average individual that doesn't have an agenda, and again, some of these people are like that, doesn't really, I'm less forgiving to them still, because what they're doing again is destroying America, the Constitution, which will again have a ripple effect to other amendments as well. First Amendment, it will have a ripple effect. The Second Amendment guarantees all the others, but some people are innocently engaged in that. They don't mean to. They don't know that they're actually, shuffling in tyranny, but they're part of the game plan. The media was really interested in preventing this type of tragedy. How about you don't cover it? If everything's on the table, shouldn't we have on the table as well your coverage of a mass shooting? How about you ignore it and give it no play whatsoever? And then the mentally unstable individual who's watching your broadcast and seeing how much play that individual gets, in his mind, maybe he thinks, well, I'm awesome. I'm going to go out that way. So he's encouraged by your coverage of it. China, for all their faults, they get this. There was a stabbing in China recently. And this is what they said. It said, after several such attacks in 2010, the government has ordered all schools to beef up security. They're talking about their slashing in the school. Knife stabbing recently. And the official media stopped reporting the incidents to avoid copycat imitations. Blame game. No, they're not going to go there. Where they will go is to the law-abiding, good citizen gun owner here in the U.S., you and me. That's where they're going. And we are to blame for this, that we would want to have a gun that we don't need. There's that word again, that we don't need. And by the way, real quick, I do need it. There are situations where I do want high firepower, proven in the course of history. We'll talk about that again. Yeah, but I do need it, but they're going to go after us in the blame game. They have been doing it, and they're going to do it more. They'll probably go out after all media that is in one shape or another pro-gun. And they're, again, well-funded, and they're backed by millions and millions and millions of followers. What they won't go after, perhaps, though, is Hollywood for their graphic portrayal of violence against human beings or analogs to human beings. I turned on the show the other night. You may be a fan, maybe not a fan, but Walking Dead. The guy was putting a pick through the other dude's head. Granted, it was a zombie, but it was still an analog for a human being. Graphic violence. Blood spurting out, brain tissue, arms being chopped off. Graphic violence portrayed in that show. And other shows. So is that on the table? Is that part of the blame game? Are violent video games part of the blame game? First-person shooters, guys getting his brains blown out, shooting this person, that person, mass shootings, Grand Theft Auto. Is all that on the table? Is that part of the blame game or no? Are we just going after, rational informational sources? Is that what's going on? Now you see the hypocrisy in the blame game. There is no rhyme or reason. It's just how it is with a mob mentality, and that brings us to what I'm going to call courage in short supply. I just mentioned the video games. Where are all the video game channels here on YouTube speaking out in defense of gun rights? And actually in defense of their media too, because perhaps some voices will level blame at them. What they do about their desensitizing a bunch of young people to violence as these games promote violence and show violence. Where's their videos in support of gun rights? I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube, to be dead honest with you. I'm adventuring, I'm doing reviews, I'm being a family man, doing my job. But I haven't been made aware of any. Where's all the so-called gun channels talking out about this after this incident as we come up under unprecedented fire and criticism as a pro-Second Amendment community? Where are all those voices? Do you own a channel? A so-called gun channel? If so, where's your video like this one? Supporting gun rights, talking out, influencing your viewers to be politically active. And that's what we're talking about, political activity. I haven't seen them. You know? Being a gun owner is being political. I've said that in reviews. I think some people had an issue with that. Oh, it's not. I wish you wouldn't talk about politics. What do you say now? You know, I said in the Keltec KSG video, I said, hey, if you're owning one of these guns, you are political. I rest my case. I guarantee you the KSG will be on the AWB. You're a well, I just want to own the gun. I'm not asking for problems. You're political. If you don't want to be political, sell the gun. And honestly, dude, STFU, man. Okay? Shut the F up. Seriously, if you don't want to be political, then sell all your guns. If not, then you're part of our community and you need to do what I'm doing. You need to speak out. You need to stand up and be courageous. Not be a coward. Okay? Get out in front and speak. I ain't seen that much. I see a bunch of carpetbaggers, that's what I call them. Guys that will cash in on the gun phenomena. I'm not just talking about individuals, I'm talking about companies too. Lots of carpetbagging. Well, we're going to make a fast buck off it. Maybe it's ad revenue. Maybe we're going to get a name for ourselves. We're going to get views. We're going to be thought of as a super stud. But when it comes right down to defending this country, comes down to defending the Second Amendment, what do we hear? Crickets. Nothing. They're carpetbaggers. They're exploiting the situation to make a fast buck. Nothing wrong with making a buck. I say go for it. Make your money. When it's time to step up, yo, step up. You know, when I'm on the front lines and I look left and I don't see you and I look right and I don't see you, I'm thinking, where is this guy? Why am I all alone up here? You know, am I charging this machine gun nest all by myself? That happened to the gun owners in the United Kingdom. Fractionalized gun community. Well, we don't want to stand up. We're afraid we'll get criticism. You know, well, how will we be perceived? Let's fast forward 5-10 years in the future and we'll see how your gun channel's doing then. It will be gone. This channel will be gone. But it won't be because I didn't try. I got a lot of sides to my personality. What you're seeing now is the warrior side. Yeah, I get pissed. I don't care. Finay, man. I can't believe it. Battle now. Remember, new paradigm. We don't have time to organize. You know, we're in Poland. Let's go ahead and back. We'll get a game plan to respond to the invading Germans, and then, we'll come up with some. But, oh, whoa! They're already in the capital? Blitzkrieg. Yeah, dude. That's what's going on. You need to respond now. That's what you've been seeing here in the Nutnfancy project, by the way. I've been responding. Get up there. And what I want to see from you, I want to see letters. I want you to see you active in the social media. You got a Twitter account? Tweet. You got a YouTube channel? Make a video. You got a hand that works? Write a freaking letter to the editor. You got a phone? Call into a talk show, preferably liberal, and express well-spoken point of view in defense of gun rights. Yes, you may be dealing with a mob mentality. Yes, it will probably be disregarded, but won't you feel better that when these gun rights are lost, and they will be lost, by the way. I'm just telling you the truth. What do you want me to lie about it? I'm just telling you how I think it's going to go down. But at least you'll be able to look at your children and say, hey, I tried. I was active. I was a warrior in the cause of freedom. I don't want you to just speak the truth. I want you to rant the truth. That's what I'm doing on this video. I'm ranting the truth. In your face rant. Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm pissed about everything I've talked about the playbook, about the misrepresentation of good people in the United States of America as murderers. It's pure, plain and simple propaganda for a larger purpose, and that is the institution of whatever you want to call it, socialism, loss of freedom in the United States. Where's all the videos from the gun channels? Crickets. Oh my gosh. Are all you guys going out and panic buying right now? I went to a couple gun stores in the last 5 days and I looked around. All kinds of people in these gun stores. By the way, the shelves are going barren. All the AR-15s are gone. Panic buying left and right. People who did not have the foresight to plan, gone. And I looked around and I was like, I wonder if all these people are NRA members, GOA members, if they're politically active, or are they too freeloaders? You know, I have all kinds of texts from people, kind of jumping ahead to the next talking point, but they're saying, hey dude, hey Nutnfancy, man, what gun should I buy? Is this a good AR-15? First I was like, where the hell have you been for the last 4.5 years, dude? You know, TMP has been out there forever, and I've been providing high quality information for you. Philosophically speaking, systems, discussions, integration to systems for LE, civilian, military, and you've ignored that. And then suddenly at the last quarter of the game, you're interested and now you're a fan. STFU, man. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. I'm like, where have you been? And then I'm saying, by the way, are you a freeloader? Or are you going to be a gun rights activist? Because when you buy that gun, you become political. Don't try to convince me otherwise. Don't piss me off in the comments. I'll block you too. When you buy a gun, you're political. If you don't want to be political, sell your guns. Sell your guns. If you're not an NRA member, if you're not politically active, a vocal voice, whether it's with your friends, coworkers, whoever you come in contact with about these freedom issues, you're part of the problem. You didn't vote in the last election. You did a non-vote, a protest vote for a third-party candidate. In my opinion, part of the problem. Don't try to convince me otherwise. Don't waste your breath, because that has accelerated everything we're seeing here. Now, would it have happened eventually? Yes, probably. It wouldn't have come this quick. No way it would have come this quick. Are you Googling right now the provisions of the new assault weapons ban? Are you on there like, well, what's it going to do? It's going to ban my gun? Is it going to ban my features? Is it going to ban this? Will I still be able to get this? Are you doing that? Well, then you're already accepting the new paradigm for the new America if you're doing that. You should be investing that energy into fighting the assault weapons ban. You should be contacting your senators, your representatives, and saying, hey, this is coming. I'm not in favor of it. I hate this. That's what you should do. I get cruising. So much to talk about. You're already adapting to the new America. Don't adapt. Fight it. Vocally. Be a part of the political process. We talk about courage and short supply, which I have seen in the last 5 days, and actually preceding that as well. Talking about companies too. You're going to see a lot more of this. What do we have now? Well, locally here in the Western region, there's a website called KSL Classifieds. Last night, they took down all gun advertisements. If it's a firearm advertisement, you're trying to sell a gun, down, taken down. Awesome. Not awesome. Well, we're taking it down because as a nation, we're reevaluating, firearms and how they integrate in society, and on we go with propaganda. Another company, Dick's Sporting Goods, they do not sell guns anymore. Another one, Cheaper Than Dirt. Stop selling guns. Flat out. Oh, but then when they got a lot of flack, they backpedaled. They go, oh, whoa, it's just temporary, guys. We're just looking, we didn't want to take back orders. We couldn't fulfill them in a timely fashion. I call BS on that. CTD, Cheaper Than Dirt, done with them. I'll never order from them again, ever. Done. They may be going out of business because of that decision they did. They're backpedaling now. No. Hey, if you're going to go down, with honor. Say, yeah, I believe in supporting good citizens. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't subscribe to political correctness, the new redefinition of what a gun owner is. No. Stick with truth. Put a statement on your website. Are you going to catch flack? Yes, you'll catch flack. But not from gun owners. You'll get loyalty from them, business from them. You'll catch flack from the protectionists, the mob. You'll catch flack from them. Who else? Cerebus sells the Freedom Group. In the Freedom Group are the following companies: Remington, Bushmaster, Remington LE, Marlin. Love Marlin. Tapco. Love Tapco. DPMS, Panther, EOTech, H&R, Parker, Barnes Bullets, Para USA. Advanced Armament. All part of the Freedom Group, actually, owned by Cerebus. There are people saying that Cerebus bought them up for the sole intention of selling them off and shutting down a huge portion of gun manufacturers in the United States. Is that true? I don't know. I do know this, though. They caved what seems at this moment to be political pressure, and they are now out of the gun business. Who knows what's going to happen to those companies? They could be left twisting in the wind, being liquidated. Welcome to your new America. Walmart. I predict Walmart will quit selling guns altogether. Walmart has been a very pro-Second Amendment company. However, like all big corporations, they will bend to huge mounting public pressure. They already stopped selling this week the Bushmaster. AR-15, which was not used in the mass shooting, but is reported to be used in the mass shooting. Whether it was or not, honestly, it's immaterial. So he used it, he didn't use it. Don't look at the gun. Don't look at the device. Look at the individual. It's an idiot that focuses on the device. But Walmart, I predict, will capitulate completely. Discovery Channel, come on down. Hey, Nutnfancy, I recall back in 2009 that Discovery Channel was really wanting you to come to their channel and do some shows with them. Is that true? Yes, it is. And I said no. And now you see why. Partially the reason why. I'm not going to lose my independence to that. Whether I'm in a shooting show, not in a shooting show, survival-oriented show, this is another company that capitulates to public pressure. There's going to be more. All kinds. Maybe later on I'll come and annotate all the ones after this all shakes down of all the companies that capitulated to the pressure which came about from the playbook. Remember that money I told you that was given to those anti-gun groups? Part of this money is being used to harass these companies, to force them into capitulation, not selling guns. Don't be a carpetbagger. Okay, if you're going to be a gun owner, be political. You got to be, or sell your guns. That's what says me, Nutnfancy. You should join the NRA for at least 3 years. At least. Preferably life. Hey, Nutnfancy, NRA was really quiet during the first few days of this tragedy. Why so? Well, here comes some criticism to the NRA. I said they're following the old paradigm. The old way of doing business. Well, you know, we don't want to do this. And there's some other things involved. All the death threats against the NRA, all the harassment against the NRA, they understand the mob mentality. So in their defense, I will say they were probably taking that into consideration and going, you know, our voice is not going to be heard. It's not going to be listened to rationally. Let's let it cool off a little bit. I understand where they're coming from. My point is this, in my criticism, is it's the new paradigm. You're dealing with a blitzkrieg. Okay, by the time you weigh in the fight could be over. The legislation could be passed. Remember, it's going to be mob legislation expedited through. While things are fomented, people are pissed, that's when they're going to get things done. That's how all bad legislation is passed. Not all, but a lot of it. You're seeing it again. That talking point was courage in short supply. Don't be a part of that. Personally, you're seeing it right here. Dude, I'm right in front of the camera talking about truth in a logical, straightforward manner, but I'm unrepentant, okay? Because there's a bunch of lies being propagated about gun owners here in the United States, and it's just that. So I can't sit down. I was going to do a review tonight, and I'm like, why? Why review? I mean, what am I going to review? Am I going to pretend this isn't happening like a lot of other channels are here on YouTube? Go out and blow some crap up, you know, just say, oh yeah, we're all good, we're all good. Well, you're not all good. I'm not a carpetbagger, not going to be one. And that brings us to what I call musical chairs. If you're paying attention to the Nutnfancy project for the last 4.5+ years, you would know that this was coming. Forget all the other media sources, and there's a lot of outstanding media sources. But you would know. You would have bought a thing or two in preparation for this event. You should have bought earlier. Your procrastination sucks for you. Welcome to your new reality. You know, there's a couple people who text me, he's like, hey, I don't have an AR-15 yet. I'm like, what? Now, how is this possible? How does the whole musical chair thing work? Well, it's just like, you know, in grade school, music's playing, everyone's walking around, music stops. If you don't have a chair, you're hosed. I never got an AR-15, never got an AK variant rifle. Well, should have thought about it. I don't have much sympathy for that. Not at all, actually. I've spent a lot of my time trying to help people, good civilian sheepdogs. LE's affected too. This will affect LE. If you don't believe me, go talk to some sheriffs down there in SoCal. They have very restrictive gun laws. Told you that story, I think, a couple years back. Sheriff's deputy is out there shooting with an AR-15, his personal one. Wasn't registered or something like that. Another LE guy rolls up, arrests him. What? That's right. Takes the guy in. He's in big trouble. Loses his job. Thinks he has to get a lawyer, all this stuff. But he's a cop. I know. Welcome to your new America, how things are working. You know, common sense, rationality does not have any place in this. It's about people control. How dare you defy us? Don't defy us. people ask me for buying advice now. Oh my gosh, how is this even possible, though? Musical chairs and that this would even come? Well, all this has been laid over the past 10, 20 years. The urbanization of America, there's not a lot of people who are on board with the gun issue anymore. The shooting tradition is very rare. A lot of people in the 30s all the way up to the 1960s grew up in rural areas. They were hunting rabbits, squirrels. They were taught by their fathers or grandfathers the shooting tradition. We lost that. It's gone. We are now an urbanized culture. We're about video games, MTV. You know, I guess online shooting, but not real shooting. And there's a lot of support for that. That's how we got to musical chairs. I think the battle, like I said in Gun Owners to be Demonized video, will be over grandfathering. Will we have these things grandfathered or not? I got a cruise. My gut feeling right now is we will win the grandfathering battle in round 1. We won't win it in future rounds. That's just me. I could be totally off on that, but I think that's what's going to happen. Is that the NRA will weigh in on this fight. They will fight hard, I hope, and try to give no ground. I hope. I think we'll win the grandfathering thing. I could be wrong. The propaganda name game is in full swing and fully accepted. You're hearing a lot of this going on right now. Assault weapon. It's not an assault weapon. It's fires semi-automatically. Assault weapon is full auto. They don't care about that. They'll use that and the term machine gun interchangeably while they're talking and brainwashing the masses here in America. They will show a video clip of a guy shooting a machine gun at the range and saying that was the gun that was used in Connecticut and previous shootings. Complete lie, complete propaganda. The gun show loophole, total garbage. There is no gun show loophole. You have to go through a background check, fill out a 4473 just like you do anywhere if you buy from a dealer. The gun show loophole, as I've said before, is they don't want private-to-private transfers. They want you to go through an FFL so they know what you have, so they can lock your gun ownership down. There's no gun show loophole. Reasonable measures. There are no reasonable measures, if you ask me, when it comes to gun ownership, because it always leads to a slippery slope. I said that in Gun Control Slapdown from my deployed military location back in 2008 here in TMP. Go look that video up. It's ancient. I talked about that slippery slope back then. Here we are seeing it right now in 2012. We're on that slippery slope. Reasonable measures. And by the way, stay away from defending the Second Amendment on grounds of hunting and target shooting. If those words come out of your mouth while you're talking to your political enemies or whoever you're trying to convince, you're wrong. You center it exactly where it needs to be, and that is on protection from the government, protection from bad guys. Flat out. You have the right. And it, by the way, it's a natural right. And this is actually going to lead us into my next talking point, because I got a cruise. Constitutional downfall. When we're talking about target shooting, or hunting and target shooting, you want to center it on defense from the government, defense from bad guys. It's a natural right. It's God-given. And just because they come down with these new laws doesn't mean that natural right, God-given, goes away. Reference my video, The Minuteman Prerogative, posted a couple years ago. In that video, I talk about the philosophical basis of the Second Amendment, where it came from. Natural rights. How people are fearful and ignorant of the Second Amendment when they should be completely supportive of it. Because what it does is ensure all their other rights. When our forefathers attached the Second Amendment to the Constitution, they knew what they were doing. And they knew that having that option for a populace with armament to rise up and, yes, question and overthrow the government is a good option. Why? Because they just done it themselves. But that would never happen. Oh, really? Well, when I get to my question section, it'll be in the next part of this video. We'll talk about some questions that you can ask your cohorts of if it's ever happened historically. It has happened. It will probably happen again. We are reaping the ignorance of generations right now with this constitutional destruction we see right now before our eyes happening. A lot of it's the urbanization of America. A lot of it's the breakup of the American family. About values not being passed down. I told you in New America, Obama thought and thinks the Constitution stands in his way. You're seeing it right now. Second Amendment, it's a sideshow, man. It's going to progress from there. First Amendment, look out. Look out. Step 1 happens now. Expect steps 2 through 27 in the months and years that follow. I'm dreading it too, dudes. Doing what I can. Being politically active. Domino effect is on the way. Just watch when we talk about the rights of the Second Amendment. Of the Bill of Rights. It's going to be domino effect. Second Amendment protects all the others, but now that it's gone, eviscerated, or will be eventually, it won't happen in one step. I said that in New America. This is the first volley. Steps 2 through 27 will shortly follow. Look out. Power preservation, people control are the aim. I've said that several times. When we talk about the downfall of the Constitution, that's where we're going. We're not talking about keeping schools safe. Let me rephrase that. They're not talking about keeping schools safe. They're talking about that. People control. The institution of complete power in the government. The individualism is lessened and the state is strengthened. Gun control is part of that process. If you think otherwise, you are sorely misled. Sorely. And an idiot, I might add. That's right, I said it. You're an idiot if you believe that. This tragedy provides propulsion to their game plan. Your natural rights are still there. Conscientious objection, that's up to you, dude. Natural rights haven't gone anywhere. Bigger long-term issues of governmental control in play. For a free ride, all freedoms abrogated gladly. Totally. The here and now society, that's what we're in. I've talked a little bit about that. That's one reason why this is able to be pushed forward the way it is. That people are ignorant. A lot of I shouldn't say innocent, but just unknowing, ignorant people are on board with this play that is going on right now. But we're an instant gratification society. These individuals don't look down 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years down the road when more of their freedoms are gone. And honestly, a lot of them don't care. As long as they're getting a welfare check from the government, they're getting a handout, they're getting an Obama phone, they're on board with whatever he wants to do. Damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead. Meanwhile, future generations enslaved. New America, welcome. You don't believe me? Look at the TV. Turn on your TV, your boob tube, which, by the way, I boycott. After the elections, I don't watch any major news source. I don't even listen to them anymore. I saw enough during the election. Shows, for that matter, too. I just boycott it. But if you want to, look on television tonight. See what's on there. And tell me what kind of state we are in as a people. How intelligent we are as a people. Finally. And I'm over an hour, but sorry. It's just the way it's going to be. Future is now. You are witnessing history. It is a new paradigm. Don't be foolish and think this is going to be handled the way things have been handled in the past when it comes to the gun issue. The back and forth, the give and takes, politicians standing up for what is right. Don't expect that. Both Democrat and Republican politicians, both alike. There are all kinds of them that are turncoat to the Second Amendment. From my understanding, there's even ones that have been, in the last 5 days, rated A+ by the NRA that are like flip-flopping on the gun issue. Under this mounting public pressure, suddenly they're anti-gun. Those guys need to be thrown out of office completely. We need to get in there. I don't care what political party they come from. Tea Party, Republican, Libertarian, very few Democrats are on. So I'm not going to mention that. There's a couple, but very few. But it's probably going to be one of those, from those three stripes, get them into office. And they got to be pissed. How did I word it in that previous part? You're not just going to speak the truth. You're going to rant the truth. That's the kind of guy we need. Single term? Yeah, he'll be single term. He won't be reelected. But I'll tell you what, he'll be a hero amongst freedom lovers all over the country. And he will give a lot of encouragement to others behind him. That's what we need. The future is now, though. We're in unknown waters. History's in the making. Gun ownership in the U.S. will be permanently altered, as the liberal media is saying this is a watershed event. In that, they are correct. Now, I think here in Google, they will respond to this pressure and you will see gun videos, perhaps knife videos, become a controlled substance, maybe eliminated altogether. So right now, you're still with me, aren't you? Alternate websites for the Nutnfancy project will be nutnfancytech.com, nutnfancytech.com. It is a shell right now, but it will be enlarged as time goes by, when and if I'm motivated to do so. My Twitter page is a source of information, so subscribe to www.twitter.com/nutnfancy. And then also I have an alternate Nutnfancy channel project page here on YouTube. It's called The Nutnfancy Project. Sub to that right now. That's also skeletal, a shell. You'll see that being uploaded with non-gun adventure videos, which honestly comprise the majority of what I do here. All the other stuff will be re-uploaded there, assuming that's how it goes down. That's plan B, and then maybe I will go to shortwave radio. Maybe. We'll see. The course of the U.S. is, in my opinion, irreversible now. The course is set. We're going full steam ahead. Buy everything you can. I know, I was kind of blasting on guys that didn't prepare. Better late than never. If you can find it, buy it. If it makes sense for your system. Don't just abandon everything I've said in the Nutnfancy project. I mean, all that plays. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Now, my audience here in the Nutnfancy project, if a media source finds this video, I'm going to tell you right now, they're high-quality people. Good people. Civilian, military, LE sheepdogs that protect the rule of law, as I have done in my military career for 20 years, as I do day to day. Protecting the rule of law, protecting good people. Just like that armed sheepdog did in that Oregon mall. Neil Megley. I think I can't dig his name out, all this stuff, but yeah, that's what they are. You know, ultimately, if some individual decides he wants to go on a rampage with his vehicle and drive over a bunch of people, okay, that's his decision. You know? It's not the fault of other individuals that drive cars. It's not. In the next segment, and it will be a single part, I'm going to go into the questions. If there's an interest in this video, good views on this video, I'll go into the questions that you can ask people who you come in contact with, and it will be very uncomfortable for them and demand answers. Along with that, I'm going to provide some philosophy and some examples of the philosophy that I'll provide. These, again, are uncharted waters. What constitutes a greater good? A greater good is the preservation of personal liberty. The preservation of your ability to live your life and to protect your life with whatever you deem is necessary. You want an AR-15? Use an AR-15. You want an AK variant rifle? Use an AK variant rifle. The greater good would be on board with that because they would realize that that serves the greater purpose of liberty. But when you hear for the greater good nowadays, it means something completely different from the protectionist. What it means is for their good, and that is people control. The abolition of all weapons in your hands and my hands is what they're after. To them, that is the greater good, and then in that respect, you should be aware, very aware. Your natural rights will always be intact. It doesn't matter what laws are passed. This is Nutnfancy. See ya.